if you want to make really good quality decisions in stressful situations, you need to be in a state of flow. Now, they get that. And I say, all you need to do is watch this absolutely beautiful, spectacular, emotionally evocative slideshow with these images, and it'll change the way that your brain operates, your brain waves operate. It'll put you into a state of flow within 3 minutes.
Did you
roll their eyes at me?
Did you know when you first conceptualized Positive Prime that it was going to be audiovisual?
I knew it had to be, simply because when we look at a beautiful smile, a genuine, sincere, warm smile it emanates from our heart, the retina in our eyes processes that in a fraction of a millisecond, sends that message to the mirror neurons in your brain. That's actually where your horns come from, by the way, when you're being devilish.
Welcome to the Global Affair podcast, brought to you by Love Out Loud, the world's largest love-based movement, actualizing a civilization of love by 2030. My name's Nicole Gibson, and join me and some of the world's brightest minds as we bring some of the most important and controversial conversations of our time into a space of unity. It's important to know that as your host, this isn't about my personal opinion or bias, but rather an opportunity to listen with love, honesty, curiosity, and reveal the true universal experience us humans have amongst the differences. So if you love the show, please let us know by giving us a rating and tell us how to make this conversation easier for other people to jump into as well. And with that, let's get it. Kim Serafini. And I've just learned that name holds so much wisdom, ancient wisdom, than what I was present to only, a few days ago. So I'm sitting in the presence of an angel, and I've just discovered that the Seraphins are an angel. You know more about it, Kim. Do you want to maybe just give a short spiel?
You're about to get to know a whole bit more about it.
Yeah. And then I'll give a bit of context to you listeners that are probably like, what the F are these two talking about?
So yeah, my surname is Serafini, which of course is Italian, but it's really from that Venetian region. And of course, once upon a time was the Hungary, Austrian Empire area. Anyway, there is a crystal, a rock formation in a lake, and they say that the angels went to lay their wings down there, and this magnificent geological formation has these absolutely crystalline silver white feather-like patterns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where the
seraphims and cherubims come from. So everyone,
myth comes from.
Yeah, you've heard about this, and of course the Sistine Chapel is painted with it. And some of us, like how I include myself there, some of us believe that there are just angels walking on earth. As happenstance, some of us were actually born into this lineage, and I was, and so was Nicole Gibson, but we could have never have known that.
I've only just discovered this, so that's a pretty big deal. I feel very honoured. And so I'm going to give a bit of a sort of history around where Kim and I met in just a second, but we're sitting here in Los Angeles at the Intercontinental Hotel, and this room's been transformed into many things over the past few days, including the Global Affair podcast studio. So thank you, Kim. But I think it's really exciting and incredible, the project that you're spearheading at the moment for many reasons, and media and entertainment in particular are topics that we really want to explore on this podcast, for obvious reasons. But I'd love you to just give a bit of an overview around what Changemakers Prize is, where it came from, and on a global level, the sort of impact you want to see it create in the world.
Okay, so I'm just going to put this also into a little bit of extra context. Nicole Gibson and I went to the same university in Australia, admittedly several decades apart. She's quite a lot younger than me, and more youthful.
Bondies, what's up?
Yay! I knew, even at 18, that I was destined for something extraordinary. That could have meant amazing, wildly unique, not necessarily sensational.
That's what we're rolling with. I love it. Sensation. Yes.
I was a handful for my lecturers even back then. Still am now for my husband. Still a handful. So, change makers, we're needed. And what I've discovered in the last 3 decades is that it's the little people like me who feel like we're nobody with nothing, who somehow have, and I think it's interesting, we have this opportunity to do something that we're so naive about. Because if we were celebrity, there'd be too much reputational risk.
Been hanging out with Deb.
Yeah.
It's really edgy. Like, finally, I feel better about being the little guy.
Exactly.
I'm trying to pull off what I'm trying to pull off right now.
And so we don't have these vast resources, but then we start to think about those who do have, extraordinary, extreme resources, financial, policy, infrastructure. Why is it that they're not doing more to really address the issues that affect most of us? The biggest issue, I believe, that affects all of us is, what am I really doing here? Lots of people have heard that phrased in all sorts of different kinds of ways. But about 2.5 years ago, I was lying in intensive care. I'd had my 6th serious near-death experience. My heart had stopped, completely flatlined, and luckily for me, had come back online after about 20 plus seconds. And so in the preceding 10 seconds, all sorts of things are going wrong. Perfusion, when your heart's not pumping, means oxygenated, nutrient-rich blood is not flowing to all the organs and systems of your body. So you are at real potential for damage, irreversible, irreplaceable, irreparable damage. Your kidneys, your brain. And the short and the long of it is, I asked myself this question: if I was actually really going to have another one of these episodes where my heart would completely stop before they put a pacemaker in, would it be okay if I died? Like proper died. I mean, I know they say after 10 seconds of your heart flatlining, you're actually clinically, physically dead. Well, not really. But anyway, that's not got to...
Is that what they say, 10 seconds?
Yeah, 10 seconds. Yeah, you don't want your heart stopping for 10 seconds very often. And usually you don't come back. So the question is, why did I? Why did I get a chance? Not once, not twice, 6 times. But that question, would it be okay? The truth is yes. Yeah, I'd already done enough. I'd contributed enough. Now, 20 years ago, I left the corporate world in London and I created a treatment that is now commonly known as hot stone massage. It did not exist before I invented it.
What was it? What was the need that you were trying to fulfill? Just out of curiosity, because I love hot stone massage, by the way. What was the?
First of all, it was cryotherapy and thermotherapy, so therapy and heat therapy, long before HOF was famous. Let me tell you.
And before P3 Recovery Centre.
Exactly.
Where I spend every other day.
We've got a marble table here, guys, and I've got my hands on it. And so when marble, in particular cold marble, and if they're sculpted, so they're actual beautiful sculptures, think of a mango, and if you slide that along the quads or the hams. So I should say, after business school, I went to London, did a really fancy couple of years in change management consulting in mergers and acquisitions, thought I was pretty cool. Rather intimidating, intellectually arrogant.
What street was your office on?
Well, I was actually in the head office of the 10th largest company in the entire world. It's called Diageo, after the merger of Grand Metropolitan and Guinness.
Okay.
So that's like Oxford Street, Marble Arm.
Yeah. That's what I was picturing.
Yeah. And it was actually before Canary Wharf was cool. I did walk and work at Credit Suisse First Boston. I first moved to London.
Okay.
So midnight to 8 a.m. was my shift.
Yeah.
On the M&A desk. Anyway, okay, so I go to an Anthony Robbins.
Emergency mergers at 4 a.m. Corporates having nervous breakdowns. Kim was there to save the day.
Tired too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Lots of time zones. London does think it's the centre of the financial universe.
Yeah.
And New York also thinks that.
Oldest money though, so who wins? Anyway, let's not...
Actually,
I digress. I'm half British, so there's a bias there.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hey, Mum. So, very, very long story short, I went to an Anthony Robbins Life Mastery University program. Anybody is a fan of Tony's?
And what prompted you to go from Oxford Street to Tony Robbins' audience?
Because he is actually one of the greatest change management consultants. And that's what I technically was. I was labelled a change management.
So it was professional development for you at the time. Yeah.
By some, really scary, very tall man with big hands who yells and gets slightly over the top. A bit like me, because the other half of me is Italian. That's her. Right. So Tony is very much into making things more efficient and more effective, collapsing time, like getting more done with less. And that's why he has one of those mini trampolines that you jump on. Is anybody following us? Right. So there's rebounders.
Oh, rebounders. Yeah. Good for the
everything.
Blood flow.
Lymphatic.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. So I bought one because I wanted to be efficient and more effective, but I exercised.
Yeah.
Anyway,
how many minutes a day were you doing that?
Oh, well, he says that you've got to do at least 15 minutes.
Really? That's quite a lot.
But 2 is hard, particularly at my age now. I still have that same rebounder. I have changed the
springs.
Anyway, so back to stone massage. So here's the funny thing. I was pretty burnt out from the career that I'd had. It could be about my personality and my character, not necessarily about just the role. I'm pretty intense. So I decided to take a sabbatical.
Is this when you went to Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
Okay.
And whilst I was there, he said something to this effect. You should make your vacation your vocation. Okay, so Aussies do not know what those 2 words mean. We say holidays and life purpose. And if you spend time in India, maybe it's just...
It doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
Not really. Did you like my American accent?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Dharma.
Tony made me think, what does that mean? Because the only place I can be is in an overwater bungalow in Mauritius or, Bora Bora, preferably on a massage table looking through a glass bottom floor at fishes. Reef, skate. And I got to thinking about the spa industry, and I started to think about where are the margins are in this and what are the levers commercially. And how do I make the ideal holiday vacation into my vocation? True story. I went and knocked on the door of this woman who set up spas in health clubs in the UK. Huge chain, very successful woman who'd created an empire. Her name's Susan Harmsworth. I recently had this conversation with her about how she changed my life forever and she had no idea. And I said, I really want to get into this industry. And she said, well, you need to be a beauty therapist. And I literally was like, I'm not sure how I told my parents I went to business school to become a beauty therapist. But how incredibly humbling that would have been, right? So
Was that a path that you took?
Not really. And then it became an official... sports therapist.
Oh, yeah, seemed a bit more
physical therapy. No joke.
Okay.
So of course you end up as a massage therapist because you're manipulating soft tissue, right? Muscles, tendons.
Sure.
So that was much more respectable.
Are you a sports therapist?
I am qualified.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Now back to Tony. More efficient, more effective.
Okay.
Want to make massage more efficient, more effective? What do you need to do? Compress. Remember, he's all about a lot more bang for your buck. You need thermotherapy and cryotherapy. So I started to explore, how do you do that? Ultrasound is one way, but not everyone's qualified for ultrasound treatments, right? So I thought if I spoke to a geophysicist, not that I knew that that's what the title was.
And that is the next logical step in my career direction.
Wait till how I got there. I went to a Reiki workshop in London one Saturday. I was like...
That would have been so fringe at the time.
Totally. Pre-2000s.
Yeah, great.
Right. And I'm a change management consultant living in the world of mergers and acquisitions.
Fantastic.
A PricewaterhouseCoopers merger.
Yeah.
I've done the AstraZeneca merger. Anyway, I'm in this Reiki workshop and I'm learning that I actually have an energy, and I felt it. And I thought, no, seriously, I've lost my mind. Well, I felt it and I couldn't deny it. I thought, wow, maybe I am a healer. I mean, people had said to me for a long time, you're really angelic. So if you actually saw me right now, there is no way you'd come to that conclusion. True.
Well, I know too much now. I know too much.
So, okay, so the funny thing is that if you have marble sculptures and you heat them to a precise temperature, they act a little bit like ultrasound. And so they melt your muscles. And if you use cold, they actually absorb inflammation, and that accelerates healing.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Lithos Therapy was born. I did the first demonstration of the treatment at the International Spa Association conference. I had no idea how to talk myself into being keynote speaker there in the year 2001. You know, that was a long time ago. Since then, I have trained nearly 5,000 therapists, the trainers of the trainers at the Four Seasons resort spas, you name it. In the Himalayas, I've trained Ayurvedic doctors.
Did you retire? Did you from the sabbatical? Did you ever go back to M&A?
Yeah, but here I am now, right? So now I'm back doing change management in organizations, institutions.
But as for Oxford Street, that was
I was done.
that chapter was closed.
Yeah, and I made the spa life real life.
Was that like your MySpace logo, slogan? Make the spa life your real life.
Yeah,
It's a good one. Yeah.
TM. I think that we need to start up and so okay, fast forward. I've spent years and years and years in the spa industry. I've trained lots of therapists all over the world. I've set up distributorships in places like Abu Dhabi in the UAE. And I started to notice that our emotions, the way that we feel, impacts everything. And perhaps even more so than our minds. And I really contemplated, does our thinking create our emotions? Or do we actually sense emotions? When we walk into a room and somebody's been having a fight, why do we pick up that energy? We weren't thinking that those two people were fighting, but we know it. And that led me down a rabbit hole that I have not come out of yet, and go deeper and faster. And so I sit here, having created Positive Prime as a treatment. So it's an audiovisual intervention. You watch it. It looks a little bit like a very sophisticated or fancy slideshow. And as I tried to tell people in my change management world who did in communication and leadership, they were still on that path. They'd been continuing for 20 years while I'd gone on some divergent route or pathway. Anyway,
Down the rabbit hole.
yeah, I'm like, guys, seriously, if you want to make really good quality decisions in stressful situations, you need to be in a state of flow. Now they get that. And I say, all you need to do is watch this absolutely beautiful, spectacular, emotionally evocative slideshow with these images, and it'll change the way that your brain operates, your brain waves operate. It'll put you into a state of flow within 3 minutes.
Did you
roll their eyes at me?
Did you know when you first conceptualized Positive Prime that it was going to be audiovisual?
I knew it had to be, simply because when we look at a beautiful smile, a genuine, sincere, warm smile it emanates from our heart, the retina in our eyes processes that in a fraction of a millisecond, sends that message to the mirror neurons in your brain. That's actually where your horns come from, by the way, when you're being devilish.
Right.
Or your halo, which is the role you're playing. Your mirror neurons then send a message to your endocrine system, and hormonally you start to produce more serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, other neurotransmitters. But the process is because of what you're seeing. The question is, do you see only with your eyes? No, let's not go there. We need another couple of hours. So the retina in your eyes sends that message to your brain. And so if I take lots of different types of photographs, I can literally change your neural circuitry. And a certain type of photograph does that. In this case, lots of smiles, particular type of smiles. Science labels them as Duchenne smiles. I can show you some photographs of green tree canopy, and it'll change the production of cytokines in your body. In fact, we're in California right now, you and I, having this conversation at the University of California, San Francisco, is where they did this particular research on photographs of green tree canopy and the way it changes the way the immune system functions.
Really? Just looking at the images?
Absolutely. Great if you're in a hospital bed and you cannot because of mobility.
It's just the power of the subconscious mind. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, so fast forward. I really needed to be able to have a state change, as Tony would call it, within 10 minutes. If it's not fast,
it's not effective.
It happens within 3 minutes. So cut to today, it's now been scientifically validated. It's Positive Prime sessions. And we decided to completely expand and upgrade and improve the environment that Positive Prime sits inside of. And so we created Be Positivity. You and I are pretty clever entrepreneurs, and you and I both know you need a hook if you're going to get people to go to B.
You can't tell the audience that. Go on, tell them what the hook is. Still works.
A new television series that captures attention.
It's so great. It's so great. But, you know, the great thing about Changemakers Prize, and you would have made the official announcement when this goes live, so nothing to worry about there, is, I mean, when you pitch this idea to me, there's always been something in me from a very young age, as soon as I was exposed to media, that I felt I understood just how much power media and its narrative has over our world. I remember watching, you know, mum and dad watch the news, and just even as a kid would think to myself, wow, like if the news says it is so, everyone believes it's so, you know. Or
back then, when your parents were doing that, just to interject, journalism was trusted to a certain extent. Because there was actually some integrity there.
Sure, yeah, and journalists, like independent journalism was, you know, in full flight. Although, you know, I think anyway, let's and less and less so, you know, as we move into a world where it's becoming more commonplace to cancel someone just because we don't like what they have to say. And what's the real consequence of that? You know, in a moment-to-moment sense, maybe it creates less discomfort for people. Maybe it feels less confrontational, and it doesn't hurt as many people's feelings to get the provocateur out of the arena. But I deeply contemplate, being the philosopher I am, what is the social threat that starts to get posed if we only are exposed to what we want to hear, if we're only surrounded by the opinions we already know to be true. Because if you want to kill evolution, if you want to kill progression, it really begins by the dissemination of thought and the freedom to expand thought. I was only thinking yesterday how grateful I was to be given an education, especially in my final few years. I went to a creative arts school where the premise of all of our learning was divergent critical thinking. We were taught how to think. And more than any subject matter that I learned, that's the thing that has served me through every single chapter experience that I've had in life, because I know how to deconstruct my experience. I know how to be with the complexity of this world and what happens in my experience. Without that, you're subject to unconscious temptation, desire to simplify, you know, to simplify a very complex world and to categorize things into boxes and black and white and good and bad and this is that and this is that. And the challenge there is then if we can't deconstruct the information that we're being saturated by now at lightning speed, what is that really doing to our ability to expand our thought, to ideate, to imagine? You know, the average attention span in 2000 was about, I don't know, like 12 or 13 seconds. 2010 it was 7. Now it's 1.3 seconds. And so we all realize, I think to some degree, okay, you know, it's not good that we need TikTok videos to be more and more and more stimulating and faster and faster and faster and faster to be engaged. But when you expand out, if none of us have the focus, the concentration, the will, if we can't think through things, if we can't analyze, you know, information, we become so vulnerable to what we're being sounded by. So when you pitch this idea to me, what I loved about it is it's media, it's entertainment that encourages and exposes viewers to the realities of taking something from an idea, which is what all of us really are doing all the time as a human being to various degrees of sensation, and living it through as simply, you know, could be as simple as I'm thirsty. That starts as a thought, and all the actions you subsequently take to get water and quench that thirst, all the way through to starting the next billion-dollar tech unicorn. It's the same process, but very few of us now are present to how to harness that and use it. And that's what I loved about this project personally, because we need more of that, so much more of that.
Do you want to hear it here first?
Go on.
So thoughts we've been led to believe can have us stuck in fear. We're frozen or we fight if it's negative. So the Changemakers Prize was actually about, can we tell a story with lots of positivity instead of lots of nastiness, right? Drama, negativity. Our research last year at the Brain Computer Interface Lab in the School of Engineering at the University of Technology, Sydney, proved, as I thought it would, which is really bizarre, you are searching for connection more than running away from that which confronts you.
Yeah.
And that is a serious breakthrough, because we've been led to believe by this culture that we are gripped by the negativity and the drama as necessary because we're all trying to save ourselves from the mountain lion or the saber-toothed tiger or whenever it was eons ago in our reptilian brains and we were out on the savannah, right? That survival is actually what drives us. But guess what? It's not. It's not.
100%. Our whole hormonal system is wired for connection, from serotonin to oxytocin to the original ways that we experience dopamine. It was to achieve something for the greater good of the tribe, and then to be witnessed in it was the experience of serotonin, and to celebrate was and to be loved in that was oxytocin. Our hormonal system is geared towards togetherness, unity, cooperation. So without divulging too much, because you have an amazing executive producer.
Oh, I do.
And she knows a thing or two about creating pressure cooker environments. Maybe you want to give a bit of a background. And this was a new challenge for her because it's a different material. It's a different sort of set of circumstances that she's been given to curate that same amount of interest and intrigue and drama and all the great things, but from a much different intent, which I love.
So Deborah also went to the same university with Cole and I did. That is a pure...
This is like an ad for Bond University. Thanks, Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to fund the project, you can visit bpositivity.com.
Yeah. Thanks, Bond. It was an awesome institution. It is an awesome institution. And it will prove how awesome it is by funding this.
Yeah, that's right.
Deborah and I were roommates at college, as some people say here in the United States of America. Anyway, we were flatmates in an apartment when we were at university.
At the Reserve?
Yeah.
Of course you were.
And then had a penthouse in Broadbeach.
Of course you did.
Yeah, well, when you get to know us.
It makes total sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Anyway, Deborah went to New York, and one of the first jobs that she got after her foray into entertainment, into film and television, was on Sex and the City. She was the double for Kim Cattrall.
Deb herself was?
Yes, Samantha was the character.
I thought when you told me this story, she produced and was friends with the body double. It was actually David.
Yeah, you're going to see her in a...
I already have. I mean, I'm not surprised, actually. Not as much as I should be.
She got
hilarious.
About the art of being a director.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, she spent 10 years creating spectacular shows. Live television, the Grammys, the Emmys, the Oscars, the Kennedy Center Awards, like over 300 of these extraordinary large television events. That gave her a completely different set of experiences, talent, skills, gifts that she developed. And then she picked up a role and became the executive producer of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Orange County. Yeah, I know. So fast forward a couple of years, catch up with her in Bali. I happened to be there running a retreat.
In the spa industry?
Correct, of course. Based on, I actually did write a bestseller called I Am Grateful for Life. Anyway, so to cut a long story short, Deborah said, come hang out on set and just wait until I'm done and then we'll go off and have some, a bite to eat. And I literally observed a housewife chasing her with a stiletto and the heel was pointed at her head. And I had this confronting moment where I was like, Deb, what are you doing with your life?
I will save the day. Oh my God.
It was 10 years ago. I said, you know what? You should do good television. She's rolled her eyes at me because remember, it's all kumbaya, cacao ceremonies.
Yeah.
It's just like total BS in the spa industry.
Yeah, totally.
He thinks I've tripped out, right?
He fell down a rabbit hole after Tony Robbins. Oh my goodness.
So she moved on to become the executive producer of The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise.
Here in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. 40 seasons.
40 seasons, that shows me. Do they have 10 a year?
There's 3. There's Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh my goodness.
10 years she's been on that show and travelled and created that show in 50 countries. Imagine the drama you have to deal with filming in 50 countries.
So many cultures.
Yeah.
I'm surprised 50 countries wanted the Sorry,
no.
I'm not here to.
Others go on dates, remember, overseas. Anyway.
Oh, okay, right.
All right. So, can I just let everybody in on a secret?
Go on.
Bachelor is actually, yes, it's about finding love, but you know, the storytelling is about wish fulfillment. It's very clever. And so I know that Deborah Reed knows how to make commercially successful, wildly popular.
And fulfill all of my wishes.
There's no one better for this job.
Kim has been dragging Deb through this clearly for the past 3 decades. Deb just can't escape.
So we are doing this together, and we've got a couple of other really incredible people on the team. It's a great privilege and honour and pleasure. And back to 2.5 years ago, I'm in intensive care. I've got the pacemaker about to be implanted. And I asked myself that question, is it okay if I die? Have I done enough? Well, millions of people have been positively impacted by the fact that I created a spa treatment that used heated and chilled stones. Well, actually, they were marble sculptures, but then when it got copied and watered down as a style of treatment, they used river stones and put them in rice cookers to heat them, but let's not go there. What people will do to copy an idea.
The injustice.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, no, it came to me that we've really, really got such a precious amount of time on planet Earth. Let's make it count. I mean, really, yes, we can, and Marianne Williamson wrote this in A Return to Love. You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve this world.
Amen. Amen, amen. So I'd love to leave the listeners of this episode with some morals of the story, because there's been a few different themes, that we've explored. Some of your incredible journey, which, there's many morals in that in and of itself. But this is a powerful premise that you're, bringing full circle right now around the acceptance of death. Well, first the confrontation with death, then asking yourself, have I really contributed enough? It's very interesting that your answer was, yeah, I feel like I have. And so what I'm hearing in that is it positively primed you for to be able to ask the next series of questions of life and of yourself without fear, without a sense of I've got to do this, I've got to get it done, but rather like, well, if I'm still here and I'm still alive despite all of the almost deaths, what am I really going to do? And what an incredible place to create from. So I'd love you to just give some wisdom and insight into that space, because not everyone has these extraordinary experiences, these catalysts of profound change in their life, or this kind of really intensified period of fear or pain that blows you wide open and helps you have this really expansive view on life. I'm so grateful that I had those experiences as well. But for a lot of people, they experience more moderate amounts of pain over long periods of time, which might not necessarily be the wake-up call, So
I'd say turn up the volume.
Yeah. So what would your, wisdom be for someone that's listening to this? They know that they're not fully fulfilled in their life. They want to be a change maker, apply for Changemaker's Prize. But they feel lost. They don't know where to start.
Or they've decided to step into being a change maker, and now they want to scale that. They literally want to
make it bigger, 10x it, 100x it. Yeah.
Okay, so the truth is the journey will still have moments where you're paralyzed by fear. Surrender. Back to the fact that we are angels, but the human Kim and Nicole still needs to physically remind ourselves in conscious awareness that we are supported by angels, that actually they've got our backs.
There's a greater force of good
There is.
rooting for you.
Absolutely there is. One of my unconscious episodes, I was actually driving a vehicle on my own. It happened to be one of those box Mercedes, thank goodness, because I went off with unconscious while I was driving.
Why was it, thank God, that it was a box Mercedes?
Because again,
Going out in style.
when I actually had the head-on collision with the trees because the car left the road.
It had a really long front. Wow.
And I was saved.
Yeah.
But was I really saved because of the car, or because I'm Kim Serafini, or because the angels, they just literally held me in this space and time that meant that I survived that accident and got to walk away? That's a miracle. And so create from the space that is the knowing that so many times in any one day or week or month or year, you've actually been spared, sometimes in a million ways.
And so many of those ways you won't know.
No. And so the miracle is always occurring for you. And that's where I really draw the strength from.
I love that. I think that's so powerful. And I hope you guys are listening to that wisdom. If we all created from the space of knowing the miracle we are, and when we lose sight of that, to hold the faith, that awareness will strengthen the more we believe in it. Imagine the infinite possibilities that we could actualize through our time here on planet Earth. So I want to highlight Changemakers Prize. Go to bepositivity.com if you are a changemaker and you want to be on the show and you want to be a contestant and be a part of this amazing movement. I feel very honored to be a part of this process and journey myself as a change leader. Getting to work with the entrepreneurs that go into the Big Brother house, so to speak, here somewhere in California. I really urge you to apply. I know that a lot of people that listen to this podcast are that demographic. So if you're looking for a sign, this is your sign. If you want to support the project, you want to connect with Kim, what is the best way for the people to do that?
Oh, quite frankly, bepositivity.com. You will find us. We've got a great team. You enter your email address and you send us an email via the info box. Seriously, it'll get to me. And it might go through a few people who screened, but it'll get to me.
Great.
And I invite you to.
And socials, we'll link you. And just for those of you that are left wondering, what actually is the show? I just want to give the 30-second. I want you to give the 30-second pitch.
Oh, well, this is what I said to Deborah. Let's do Shark Tank, but no sharks, only dolphins. Meets Survivor. Let's make sure it's super fun. Meets magical, serendipitous, synchronous journeys in paradise. Had a beautiful retreat.
That is so ambiguous. So I love it. I'm there. But for those of you that were not able to decode that, imagine 10 entrepreneurs coming together in the equivalent of a Survivor / Big Brother house, competing for some incredible prize. Special announcement to be made by Kim. I don't want to spoil that. And essentially watching in real time the journey of a change maker, the journey of an entrepreneur. And I'm telling you guys from lived experience, it is so much more raw and entertaining and dramatic than what you would usually watch on your average reality TV show. I often think if there was a camera following me and my friends that are in a similar journey of entrepreneurship, that really would be the best reality TV.
And me at 2:30 this morning.
Right, like texting me.
Well, yeah, what are we doing?
I got that text message. That was, and I was like, I'm not going to reply to this.
I should have your phone on verified right now.
And so should you. So, and herein lies the reality. Kim Serafini, has been such a pleasure to have you on The Global Affair. Thank you so much.
Oh, Nicole Gibson, you are one of the most magnificent human beings on planet Earth. It is an honour, privilege and pleasure for me to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening. Please share this. Send some love to Nicole. Maybe to me too.
Definitely to Kim.
Sending you love.
And share this episode actually with a change maker that you would love to see in the house.
It's going to be fun.
Stay tuned. Thank you for listening, my friend. If you enjoyed the show, please let us know by leaving a review or sharing the episode with someone you love and expanding this conversation as far and wide as possible. If you're looking for a community to have conversations with about global affairs, please jump in our Telegram group or join our free think tanks. Thanks for being a part of the shift towards a love-based civilization. We'll see you in the Telegram group or in the next episode.